Dining out. Eva looked up from her menu and stared at her aunt. As a girl, she remembered Aunt Sophie had been too overpowering to be comfortable with. Eva was 22 now, and they hadn't seen each other for over 2 years. When her aunt phoned and suggested lunch, Eva immediately felt that she was being summoned rather than invited. Aunt Sophie caught Eva's eye and smiled. "I've heard the red mullet is very good," she said. "It's also very expensive," said Eva. "Pfft," she said with a wave of her hand. "Nothing is too expensive for my favorite niece." Eva shivered. With her hooked nose and long, sharp nails, Aunt Sophie had reminded Eva of a bird of prey. Now, after the 2-year gap, she looked more dangerous than ever. Clearly, her aunt had heard about Eva's awful news and had got back in touch to find out more. Eva was determined not to tell her anything. "Red mullet would be lovely," she said, and closed the menu. "So, what have you been doing, Aunt Sophie?" "Oh, this and that," she said. 3 months in Europe, 10 weeks in the Far East." Aunt Sophie worked for the Sydney Opera House, and her job involved a lot of traveling, and there's all the charity work at home. "But what about you?" She stared into her niece's eyes. "How are you, Eva, darling? You must tell your Auntie Sophie everything." By the time the bill came, Eva was feeling good. She had just eaten the best meal she'd had in a very long time, and although her aunt asked her question after question, Eva had managed to keep her answers vague. Her private life had remained private. If Aunt Sophie was irritated, she didn't show it. "That was absolutely lovely," she said, patting her napkin to her lips. "We must not leave it so long again." "I know," said Eva. "I'm sorry "Oh, my dear child," Aunt Sophie interrupted. "I'm the one to blame. Always off here, there and everywhere. From now on, I promise I'll try harder." Eva smiled. Perhaps, she thought, she'd got her aunt all wrong. Or perhaps, now that Eva was a woman, Aunt Sophie had decided to treat her as an equal. Whatever the reason, their meal had been fun. She'd forgotten how intelligent and witty her aunt was, and the stories she'd told about the people she met on her travels were hilarious. As they left the restaurant, Eva smiled again at the thought of all those people in such ridiculous situations. It was good to know that other people make fools of themselves too. "Now," said Aunt Sophie, "how are you going to get back?" "No problem," said Eva. "There's a bus in 10 minutes. "A bus," said Aunt Sophie. "Darling, I won't hear of it. I'll take you home." Eva knew it was pointless to argue. Eva followed her aunt to the car park and guessed at once which was her car. It was the only sports car there. "Yes," said Aunt Sophie as they sped off in a cloud of dust. "I still like to get from A to B as quickly as possible." "So I see," Eva laughed. Although she drove fast, Aunt Sophie had never had an accident. Her eagle eyes never missed a thing. Eva sat back and enjoyed the ride until she noticed the name on the sign which flashed past. "Frankston," she exclaimed. "We're going the wrong way." Aunt Sophie turned and smiled. The sun glinted on her beak-like nose. "I'm having such a lovely afternoon, darling," she said. "I just want it to go on for a little longer." "But where are we going?" said Eva. "Your favorite place," said Aunt Sophie. "Phillip Island." As Eva walked along the boardwalks between the sand dunes, she realized her aunt was right. Phillip Island was her favorite. When she was a girl, Eva had often come here with her parents. She'd always found Melbourne too big and noisy, and used to pretend that the island was her own special paradise. Now, every step Eva took brought back memories from that time, when life was simple and she was happy, unlike now. She stopped, leant against the wooden balcony, and looked down at the beach as she had done countless times before. It was unfair of Aunt Sophie to bring her here, Eva thought. She didn't want to know how much her life had changed. "You're crying, my darling," Aunt Sophie said. Suddenly, it was all too much. Eva burst into tears and sank into her aunt's warm hug. "But what is it?" asked Aunt Sophie softly. "I thought you were doing so well. You've got your job and the photography, and Andrew, of course." "He's gone," said Eva. "Andrew's left me." "There," she shouted angrily. "That's what you wanted to know, isn't it?" "My angel," said her aunt, hugging her even more tightly. "Believe me, I had no idea. Oh, you poor thing. I thought you were getting married." "So did I," said Eva bitterly. "So did the 350 guests at the church. I can't remember where you were." "Rio," said Aunt Sophie. "But tell me more. When did you realize he wasn't going to turn up?" Eva sniffed miserably. "When the facts arrived," she said. "The facts!" Aunt Sophie exclaimed. He faxed you to say the wedding was off? You can't be serious. I am, said Eva. He sent it to the office. The office, Aunt Sophie cried. What on earth were you doing there on your wedding day? I wasn't, Eva said, but I haven't got a fax machine at home and… So somebody else read it? Eva nodded. My boss, she said. She rang me and read the fax out over the phone. The worm, Aunt Sophie exclaimed. She was very sympathetic, said Eva. Not your boss, she said. I'm talking about Andrew. He's a beast. And what did it say, this fax? Eva turned away and looked across at the sea. The first of the fairy penguins were arriving at the shore. They came every evening, full of food for their young, who lived in the cliffs at the other side of the beach. Eva felt her aunt's heavy arm on her shoulder. Get it off your chest, Eva, darling, Aunt Sophie whispered. I'm sure it'll make you feel better. Eva nodded. Talking about it did make her feel better. And of course, she knew the facts off by heart. I cannot marry you, Eva said. I like you, perhaps I love you, but the thought of us spending the rest of our lives together fills me with terror. We are young. We need to grow. One day, I hope you will forgive me. Oh, Eva, Aunt Sophie gasped. You're better off without him, believe me. Was that all he wrote? She added. No, said Eva. He said he'd be out of town for a month. He asked me to pick up any of my belongings from his apartment while he was away. You're joking, said Aunt Sophie, horrified. And to post my key through the letterbox when I'd finished, Eva went on. Oh, you poor child, her aunt said, and stroked her hair. It must have been so awful for you to go back there. By now, Eva couldn't have stopped even if she'd wanted to. Lulled by her aunt's soft voice and fingers, Eva told her everything. She told her about the 10-kilo bag of cress seeds that she had thrown all over the flat, except in the lounge, where she had taken more care, and how she had watered the whole lot for over an hour before leaving. Priceless, Aunt Sophie exclaimed when Eva was finished. But what did you mean? You took more care in the lounge. I spelt something out in big letters, she explained, right the way across the carpet. What? Asked her aunt excitedly. Eva smiled at the memory. We need to grow, she said. Aunt Sophie clapped her hands together. Marvelous, she laughed. Eva, my darling, that is the best story I have heard in ages. Eva turned away again. In the half-light, she noticed one of the fairy penguins in the middle of the beach. A large gull was attacking it. The gull couldn't do any real harm, but it tricked the penguin into thinking it was a bird of prey. Terrified, the penguin brought back the food it had caught for its young, and stood there watching as, with a loud squawk, the gull gobbled it all down. Eva knew that she, too, had been tricked. She felt empty and rather foolish. Aunt Sophie would be dining out on her story for weeks to come. Nouns: 1. Accident, an unexpected event causing damage or injury. 2. Angel, a spiritual being. 3. Balcony, a platform projecting from the wall of a building. 4. Beach, a shore by the sea. 5. Beak, the hard, pointed part of a bird's mouth. 6. Beast, a wild animal. 7. Belongings, possessions. 8. Boardwalks, walkways along a beach or waterfront. 9. Carpet, a floor covering. 10. Charity, an organization set up to help those in need. 11. Chest, the front part of the body. 12. Cliffs, steep rock faces. 13. Countless, too many to count. 14. Dangerous, likely to cause harm. 15. Darling, a term of endearment. 16. Dining out, eating away from home. 17. Dust, fine particles of matter. 18. Dunes, hills of sand. 19. Equal, being the same in quantity, size, degree, or value. 20. Fairy, a mythical being with magical powers. 21. Favorite, preferred above others. 22. Fools, people who act unwisely. 23. Gap, an opening or break. 24. Gull, a type of seabird. 25. Heavy, of great weight. 26. Hilarious, extremely funny. 27. Hooked, caught or attached. 28. Intelligent, having a high level of mental ability. 29. Island, a landmass surrounded by water. 30. Lulled, a period of calm or relaxation. 31. Memories, recollections of past experiences. 32. Menu, a list of dishes available in a restaurant. 33. Miserably, in a state of distress. 34. Mullet, a type of fish. 35. Napkin, a piece of cloth used at meals. 36. Niece, a daughter of one sibling. 37. Opera, a dramatic art form that combines singing, orchestral music, and sometimes dance, often telling a story. 38. Paradise, an ideal or idyllic place. 39. Photography, the art of taking photographs. 40. Prey, an animal hunted for food. 41. Shoulder, the upper joint of the arm. 42, sign, an object indicating a direction or warning. 43, situation, sets of circumstances. 44, terror, extreme fear. 45, wedding, a marriage ceremony. Adjectives: 1, absolutely, completely. 2, awful, very bad. 3, bitterly, with strong emotion. 4, comfortable, providing physical ease. 5, dangerous, able to cause harm. 6, determined, having a firm decision. 7, expensive, costing a lot of money. 8, favorite, preferred. 9, foolish, lacking good sense. 10, heavy, of great weight. 11, hilarious, extremely funny. 12, immediately, at once. 13, involved, included. 14, irritated, showing annoyance. 15, noisy, making a lot of sound. 16, pointless, having no purpose. 17, private, not public. 18, ridiculous, absurd. 19, sharp, having a fine edge. 20, softly, gently. 21, special, better or different. 22, suddenly, quickly and unexpectedly. 23, sympathetic, showing understanding. 24, terrified, very scared. 25, tricked into, deceived. 26, unfair, not just. 27, vague, not clear. 28, witty, clever and funny. Adverbs: 1, absolutely, completely. 2, bitterly, with strong emotion. 3, excitedly, with excitement. 4, immediately, at once. 5, miserably, in a state of distress. 6, softly, gently. 7, suddenly, quickly and unexpectedly. 8, vaguely, not clearly. Verbs: 1, argue, to discuss or debate a topic. 2, catch, to capture or seize. 3, clap, to strike the hands together to produce applause. 4, exclaim, to cry out suddenly. 5, glint, to shine with small bright flashes. 6, guess, to estimate or predict. 7, hook, to catch with a hook. 8, interrupt, to break the continuity of something. 9, laugh, to express amusement. 10, lean, to incline or rest against something. 11, miss, to fail to hit, reach, or catch. 12, nod, to move the head up and down as a signal. 13, pretend, to make believe. 14, realize, to become aware of something. 15, remain, to stay in the same place. 16, remind, to cause someone to remember something. 17, shiver, to shake slightly as a result of being cold or frightened. 18, smile, to form an expression of happiness. 19, stare, to gaze fixedly. 20, stroke, to move the hand gently over something. 21, suggest, to put forward for consideration. 22, summon, to call upon someone to be present. 23, throw, to propel something with force. 24, whisper, to speak softly. 25, hug, to embrace. Phrasal verbs: 1, bring back, to return something to a previous state or place. 2, burst into, to suddenly start doing something. 3, find out, to discover information. 4, flash past, to move quickly past. 5, get back, to return. 6, get off, to disembark. 7, gobble down, to eat quickly and greedily. 8, look across, to gaze over a distance. 9, look up, to search for information. 10, sit back, to recline or lean back. 11, speed off, to leave quickly. 12, stare into, to look deeply into. 13, turn away, to move one's face or body away. 14, walk along, to move on foot along a path.